I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
All right, we welcome you in. It's another edition of the Daily Puck Drop. It is the Tuesday edition, the Daily Puck Drop, your daily sports podcast to entertain you all. We try. We fail most of the time, but we try to succeed, but a lot of failure. Of course, we come every day from the Limbach Lumber Studios. Contractors, they got free deliveries, everything from whole house packages to homeowner DIY projects. They've got the largest stock moldings in the Northwest. They are the best old school service. They've been doing it since 1930. How about that? Unbelievable. You know, Hugh Millen used to throw passes in the back lot at Limbach Lumber when the Thai Club was doing a under-the-table slush fund over there at Limbach Lumber. Proud Husky money funneler is what I like to call them. Give Limbach Lumber a call, 206-782-3487. I'm going to tell you this, even if you're not going to go buy lumber, if you're a sports fan, and if you're watching and listening, I'm going to take it you are, just go in there. They have a shrine behind their counter of like the great moments in Seattle sports. It's everywhere. It's unbelievable. It's great. Just go in there and shoot the shit with them. Visit them at limbachlumber.com. Also, you can go there at limbachlumber.com. They got great clothes, hats and shirts. Wonderful. They do it all there at Limbach Lumber. Coming up on the show today, we'll talk about the M's final push. Jim Duquette, MLB Network Radio, will pay his Tuesday visit. Also on Tuesdays, you're going to hear from Danny Kelly from The Ringer, talking Seahawks, NFL, fantasy football. Johnny Cans is back for his Tuesday visits as we discuss another week of college football. Look ahead to the next weekend of college football. Rivalry weekend is in the past, Civil War in the Apple Cup, and we'll get the thoughts from John Canzano on the aftermath of all of that coming up here on Tuesday's show. We appreciate everyone who was coming on by here on a Tuesday. Also, we're going to give you a little sneak peek of our interview with Joel Damon coming up later. Myself and Jim Moore were able to catch up with Joel Damon yesterday. It is available if you want to listen to it before it's released. It's available for Puck's Posse members. Just go to pucksports.com to sign up to become a member. If you're already a member, you get, obviously, the full interview right now. We'll give you a little sneak peek. It will come out later today. And you're like, why do you have Joel Damon on? If you don't know Joel, he's a PGA Tour player. He is an avid Husky fan. He is an enormous Mariners fan, Seahawks fan, all of it, right? He's just a sports fan. This week is the Ryder Cup. So we wanted to get him on, talk a little Ryder Cup, but then we talk a lot of other stuff. Baseball, football. I tried to convince him to allow Jim, because he doesn't have a caddy right now, a full-time caddy. So I tried to convince him to let Jim carry his bags for a tournament. Can you imagine how awesome that would be? Jim Moore stumbling around carrying his bags. He wouldn't stumble around, actually. He'd be great. He'd be a fantastic caddy, by the way. He'd give him wrong yardage and all that, but he'd have great conversation. I guarantee he'd have that. And, of course, like every show here on the Tuesday Daily Puck, we'll wrap up with Hey, What the Puck. Again, reminder, Jim Duquette coming up during the show. Danny Kelly from The Ringer talking NFL, and John Canzano talking college football. Well, here it is. It's the final push for the Mariners. Final six. It starts tonight against the Rockies, who will go down as history as one of the worst baseball teams in the history of the sport. And then they're going to conclude with the Dodgers. You've seen it everywhere. Everyone now is some playoff expert on Twitter. If I see another tweet of a scenario of playoff stuff, my head's going to explode. I look what the Mariners send out. It's obvious. Not everyone knows it's three, right? All they got to do is, the combo of whatever the wins and losses here with the Mariners and the Astros will clinch the division, and then it is for Detroit, the combo of wins and losses to get the number 2 seed. All right, so again, barring an epic collapse, I mean a real epic collapse, the Mariners are going to win their first American League West title since 2001. I was living down I was working in Portland at this time, or down in Vancouver doing high school football games. So, I mean, I wasn't even here for that. I never got to experience that playoff run. So now for them to be able to win this division, perhaps get out of the wild card round, go right to the ALDS, huge. We talked about it yesterday. I'll just contend. I think I understand the argument. No, we want to just keep playing. I am on the side of let's rest up. Let's rest up. Go right to first of all, and I actually don't even understand it. You're taking out the possibility of a series of where you could lose. You're taking that out. You're eliminating that. You are eliminating your bullpen getting beat up even more. So now that I think about it, I really don't understand anyone who says, no, we've got to be careful. We want to be playing. No. I want Bizzardo to rest. I want Gabe Spire to rest. I want Brian Wu to rest. I want our catcher, who is going to win the American League MVP. I want him to sit and rest for a little bit. They'll get their work in. It's a veteran group. They'll be fine. Rest, to me, it supersedes everything else that anyone can make an argument about. No, you want to play in the wild card. And if I hear anybody that was in the crowd of, well, Cal Raleigh needs to rest during the All-Star game, but now that crowd is saying, no, they should be playing in the wild card round, so they don't rest, then that doesn't make any sense. So I'm in team ALDS, second seed. I think we're in the majority, so we're fine. And they got a great chance at that. Detroit is just in a free-for-all. But you got Bryce Miller tonight, Luis Castillo, first 2 games. We don't know what the third game will be. I'll be shocked and stunned if that third game is Brian Wu. I think we all would be stunned if it's Brian Wu. I don't see how he will pitch dealing with that injury. It would not be wise for him to pitch, and I certainly don't expect him to be out there. The Astros got 3 with the A's, which starts tonight. Then they'll finish up with 3 with the Angels. Speaking of Detroit, it's amazing where Detroit, on July 15th for Detroit, they had a 14-game lead in their division in the AL Central. Now just 1 game up on Cleveland. They start a series with the Guardians tonight. Then they will conclude with 3 at Boston. And again, as we mentioned, for the Mariners tonight, it's Castillo. And then for the Rockies, this is who the Rockies. There's some potential for some real fireworks here in the next 3 days for the Mariners. And by the way, Wednesday could be pivotal because Wednesday could be the day that they clinch the division. But here's who the Rockies are putting out this week. McCade Brown making a 6 start, 9.17 ERA. Tanner Gordon goes tomorrow. He has a 6 ERA. Some guy by the name of Bradley Blaylock. He gets the ball on Thursday. He's got a 9.16 ERA. They've given up the most home runs in baseball, 239, which is by far and away the most. They've got the worst ERA in baseball at 6. And, of course, their overall record is 43 and 113. This may be a series where Cal Raleigh is going to get to 60. There's a real good chance that he touches 60 based on the pitching staff that the Colorado Rockies are going to be putting out. I mean, again, just a bad team. Now, again, you don't want to overlook them. Sure. It just seems like I don't think they will. I was concerned a little bit of that Kansas City series, just a tad, looking ahead to Houston. They didn't. They got the job done. I certainly don't think they're going to overlook the Colorado Rockies. And honestly, my God, I think they could probably beat them with one hand tied behind their back. Let's talk more baseball. Jim Duquette, MLB Network Radio, Sirius XM. He joins us every single Tuesday to talk baseball, and it's all brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. If it's fun you desire, it's fun you're going to get at Flat Stick Pub. It doesn't matter what the occasion is, whether it's date night, guys night, ladies night, or large group event, Flat Stick Pub's got you covered. They have 6 great locations across the Pacific Northwest, from Pioneer Square to Kirkland, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. All locations offer the best pub experience in Washington. 2 rules at Flat Stick Pub: drink local and have fun. Pretty simple. So if you like to have fun, love local beer, and great tasting food, make Flat Stick Pub your next spot. Visit them at flatstickpub.com. And Jim Duquette joins us right now, Sirius XM Channel 89. Follow him on social media, Jim Duquette GM, of course, host of the Power Alley, airing daily. In addition to that, the Front Office Show with Jim Bowden on Sundays, and again, brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. They got 6 great locations across the state: Kirkland, Pioneer Square, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. They've got you covered, everything from date night to guys night, ladies night, and large group events. You've seen the Rockies. I haven't seen the Rockies. Just could your travel ball team beat them?
No, probably not. But I mean, it's been bad. You were reading off some of the stats. Like, I've never seen. I can't remember the last rotation that I've seen who's almost every starting pitcher they've thrown out there have an ERA over 6. And I understand pitching in Coors Field is tough, but I mean, are we even trying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's really embarrassing what the Rockies throw out there. You know, and they have, you know, they won a few games this year, but over anytime you're at 100 losses, there aren't going to be many teams over 100 losses this year. Obviously, they're going to be pushing 115, I think, somewhere in that range, probably more than that. It's never good. They just avoided the record that the White Sox ended up breaking. You know, they broke the Mets record in the expansion year for the Mets. So the White Sox have the record. Congratulations to them. But the Rockies aren't going to get the record, I don't think.
I'm Jim. If I walked to T-Mobile tonight with a little recorder, and I started asking people, can you name anyone on this roster? I mean, I look at this roster. I mean, I'm a baseball fan.
Sure.
I think I cover and I know somewhat of the other teams.
Yep.
I mean, I look at these guys and I go, the hell are these guys?
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen a roster like this in any sport where the majority of these guys, to me, are just unrecognizable.
Yeah. Well, and you know, the thing about it, you know, they let their manager go, Bud Black, very early in the season.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, there's a lot of talk about them bringing in a new general manager. Their GM, Bill Schmidt's been an amateur scout for a long time. He's been a really good amateur evaluator. A lot of the players that they've given opportunities to are drafted and developed by them. And so that's, you know, primarily when you look at the team, you see, you know, the signing organization, it's the Rockies. Having said all that, you know, they haven't really kept up with the times throughout the sport. Like, they just recently, like this past year, got a pitching lab in their spring training site. Like, that's how far behind they are, and they're trying to play catch up. They're not doing it fast enough, and I think their ownership is now finally starting to understand that they're going to probably have to go outside the organization to some degree for at least 1 or 2 front office executives. So that's really kind of bears watching. They're going to end up hiring, I think, well, definitely hiring 1 new person, but it's likely going to be from outside.
Well, right now, a week ago, they didn't have this. We talked about how important this series was for Seattle. We talked about you want to be the team, right, Jim, that handles your own business. Don't allow someone else to do your work. Do the work where they are able to knock off, you know, the Astros from the division. The Mariners handled their own business, and they've taken this commanding lead now. They're up 3, really up 4 with the tiebreaker, and they just seem, coming out of that series, that really was just kind of the passing of the torch, at least for this year, and maybe beyond, to see, you know, where Houston is at.
Yeah, I think when you look at what they did, it's pretty impressive to go into Houston and sweep the Astros. And yeah, the Astros all season long have been a little surprising to me, just because they've had a ton of injuries, but they've been leading the division for forever and every single year too. So, to knock them off is a big feat. And yeah, you still have some work to do if you're the Mariners. Like you still want to finish the job, you still keep pushing on the gas pedal, but they really have taken control. And that's all you can ask for is control your own destiny. Now they do. And it's the perfect timing, and you've seen it plenty like over the years. So the Mariners fans, like it's usually going the other way. So for them to be trending up the way they are, it's some great news. And at the end, you kind of go back to the deadline and all the things that they did at the deadline, and now they've gotten their pitching, it looks like, on track, and the bullpen looks fantastic right now. Like, this is the way you want to go. And if everything stays the way it is, they're going to get a very important bye for that first round, which I always, there's some debate on whether it's good or not to have that time that's off. I think more times than not, it's been helpful to kind of set your pitching and kind of get a reset going.
Yeah, I was just talking about that. I honestly don't even see the other side of the argument, really, when it comes to this team. This is a team that has ran a lot of their bullpen guys hard. Bizzardo, Gabe Spire, even Munoz to a degree, and Brash is coming back. After spending a year away from the game. The recent injury to Brian Wu. The fact is, your leading contender for the MVP and Cal Raleigh has caught more innings than any other catcher in baseball. I just think that, to me, it's an absolute no-brainer to want to get that second seed.
Yeah, the only argument, and it's not insignificant, and we don't have a long track record of this either, is how long you're sitting around, and there have been a couple teams here just in this new format that came out and kind of laid an egg offensively. Their timing was off a little bit because they weren't facing pitching, for that first 2 or 3 games of the wild card. My whole argument is, it could be a 2-game set, and then you have more, you have more time off if you're that wild card team. I don't think that even if it goes 3 games, it's a huge advantage. It's a huge disadvantage. It's a huge advantage if that team you're playing, had their pitching lined up to win those 3 games, and now you're facing, their 3rd best pitcher or even potentially their 4th best pitcher. Just facing a team that could be, potentially a little tired. Like I always think, if you can catch your breath just for a couple of days, you can stay sharp and should be able to stay sharp with, some of the technology that they have out there, pitching machines that can emulate, who you're going to pitch against, like all of those things. And you have home field advantage. Like there's just too many positives for me. I'm with you. Like, I don't even think it's a factor. There used to be some complaints, and I used to sit there and roll my eyes like, you got to be kidding me. That's just, if you want to, believe in and embrace that narrative, I think you're allowing your players to do that. I think it's the wrong message.
I'm looking at Fangraphs right now, World Series odds to win the whole thing. The Dodgers, 13.7%. The Brewers right now at 7%. The Phillies at 10%. The Tigers, they're in a free-for-all. 4% chance, according to Fangraphs, to win the World Series. Yankees at 13%. Blue Jays at 12%. The team, according to Fangraphs, that has the best chances and odds to win the World Series. Hey, Mariners fans, stand up and just laugh a little bit. 21.3%. It's not even that they've like a runaway. They've got the best odds, according to Fangraphs.
Yeah, what is it? Almost a third better than the Dodgers. And how quickly things change, right?
It's unbelievable.
Did you check it? Did you check the odds last week for the World Series? Because I don't remember. We didn't talk about it.
I don't think we talked about it. I think last week they were. I don't know if they were leading it, but I wanted to say they were like 12%, maybe. I think they're kind of where the Dodgers been, but not at 21%.
Right, not 21%. Listen. You and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and I still feel this way. But the two best rosters right now in the American League, Yankees and Mariners, and they're both playing well. Yankees are going to have that wild card series. Not likely they're catching Toronto, and then it'd be likely squaring off against them, right? So that to me would be a fun matchup. But when you look at elements each of the elements: starting pitching, relief pitching, defense, offense. The Mariners stack up best in almost every category. I don't even know if I could sit there and say, especially the way the starting pitching is kind of turned for the better. Like, I can't sit there and say that anyone matches up better, in the American League to what Seattle has currently, except for the Yankees. And so, and it a lot of times it doesn't matter if you're playing well or not in the postseason. I think we talked about this too. Like, I've studied this over the last 15 years. Like, we've had teams struggling that have gone and won the World Series, teams from the wild card won the World Series. Like, the whole gamut is there. But if you could pick one, it would be, hey, be well-rounded in all four of those areas and be playing well down the stretch. And that's what the Mariners have right now. And I think that's reflected in the odds.
You are as connected as anyone in baseball. You talk to GMs all the time, coaches, managers, front office people. Are we hearing anything perhaps on Brian Wu? It seems like, Jim, they avoided a scare, but I'm wondering if you're hearing anything differently.
I have heard nothing other than, what you're suggesting, what you're saying, and what we've seen out there. I mean, obviously that's an injury that you have to be really careful with. And, I think with this time that they have, it's coming at a almost perfect time. They don't have to worry necessarily. They have a little bit of breathing room, obviously, with the division and the postseason, and then they could take that time off. So I think that all of that favors, for the Mariners and for Wu. And, I think that the one thing you always worry about, I think we might have even talked about this with Skubal, when Skubal had his injury, and kind of reached for his pack or whatever. Like, they went through a lot of testing. They're not putting him out there and risking his career if there's any question. So I think, these days they're very, very conservative with starting pitching because of the rash of injuries there. So if he starts, you have to feel pretty comfortable and pretty certain that everything is in pretty good order there. And obviously, he's been so good for them, they need him.
And he goes tonight as the Tigers start a huge series with the Guardians, and it's amazing. I think it was back on July 15th. They had a 14-game lead in the American League Central. That has disappeared. Now only one game up on Cleveland. We've talked a lot about Detroit here in the last few months, whether people truly believe in Detroit or not. And they got up to that such a great start. And I think a lot of people are like, yeah, I mean, it's a great start, but I just think they're going to come back around. Well, they've come back around, and they're on the cusp, Jim, here of blowing. This might be the biggest lead the team has ever blown. I'm trying to think back to Angels, what they were in 95 with the Mariners, but this is unbelievable what's happening.
Yeah, I think it would be, just looking at it, would be the biggest collapse that we've seen in our sport if this happened. The longest lead, biggest lead. There's other ones. I go back. I was a Red Sox fan growing up. That 78 season when they blew the lead to the Yankees, it came down to a play-in game, which we don't have anymore. The Yankees won it, but you go back to, I think it's the 61 Phillies collapsed. There was the Cubs collapsing and the Mets in 1969. Like, we're talking about historical collapses here is the point. Like, we have to go back, 50, 60 years before we can find anything that's close to what's going on with the Tigers. Having said all that, they have the best pitcher in the American League pitching potentially 2 games in the final 6 of the season. And tonight, and then potentially lined up for Sunday if they need him. So, it's still not over yet. They still have a game lead. I talked to AJ Hinch, their manager, just today about this. And, he like, anytime when you're going through these struggles, and he talked about when the Mariners went through struggles, when the Yankees did, the Dodgers, every team's gone through struggles. The unfortunate thing for them is at the end of the year, but you don't have answers necessarily when you go through it. And you just got to try to win that, to that today's game, and then move forward and try not to think about the past. The problem is it's hard not to think about how poorly you've been playing when you're in the middle of it.
Yeah, the Angels had an 11-game lead on the Mariners in 95, August 3rd. 11-game lead. So, yeah, I was trying to recall what the exact date was. But, yeah, what's happening to Detroit is hard to watch. And for Cleveland, they just keep plugging along and seem to be in a prime position to potentially take the Central. As it would stand now, the Mariners would face the winner of Cleveland-Detroit in the wild card round. What's a better fit for Seattle? Would you say Detroit? Because Cleveland does have a lot of lefties they can throw at you from a lineup perspective, and that has been a kryptonite of Seattle starters this year.
Yeah, it's a tough call for me. I think the team that, again, if they were having to face, let's say, Detroit has a tough their lineup. Their lineup specific. They deploy a right-handed hitting lineup against lefties and a left-handed hitting lineup against righties. They do have a good bullpen. They have the best starter in the sport. I don't know. I don't think their offense matches up quite to Seattle. I feel like there's a better Seattle matches up well against both. I think if I were to play one over the other, I'd almost rather play Cleveland because they're shorthand. Even though they're hot right now,
Sure.
I don't think they can keep it up. Their offense during this stretch is average about 4 runs per game. So they're doing it primarily on their pitching and on their defense. And I don't think in the end that what they're doing that they can sustain it with, especially without Class A and and the way that he's out and still suspended because of the gambling allegations. So if I were looking at one, I think I'd rather take Cleveland.
If you spend a lot of time besides doing MLB Network radio, you spend a lot of time with the Mets and doing their post game and coverage with the Mets. You're learning you just can't buy a team.
Right.
But at the same time, if you are a Mets fan, you have to admire that at least he's said, I'm committed to winning and I will spend money to try to put a team out there. Where are they at right now, though? Because what do they spend? Almost nearly $400 million, and they may be on the outside looking in, Jim.
Yeah, well, yeah, and currently they are on the outside looking in because they don't have the tiebreaker against the Reds, but they have had since June 13th, they've had the 4th worst record in the sport. And the other teams are like Minnesota, the Nationals, and the Rockies. So you just talked about how bad the Rockies are. The Mets since June 13th have had a similar run of bad baseball. That's stunning, to me when you start looking at those four teams, how bad they've been, because that sign, to me is really not one of a postseason team if you look at it, and that's over at like a close to 90 games when you look at it. So they have had a total collapse with their starting rotation. They're relying on 3 rookies right now to take them to the promised land, which I can't remember the last time that's happened. Their offense has been in a rough spell. And then their defense over the weekend against the Nationals, they committed 5 errors in 2 games against the Nats and lost 2 of 3 against them. Like it just has been one thing after another, the way that they have played, how poorly they've played. And it really kind of gives you that feel like, as much as there's a good vibe with the Mariners, there is no vibe with the Mets. It doesn't seem like right now in terms of how poorly they've been playing, and they're trying to turn the page, and it's not working for them. And I don't know if they're coming out of this one.
This just came out today. It looks like this is from Joel Sherman of the New York Post that Major League Baseball's Joint Competition Committee will meet today, and they likely are going to approve the ABS system for next year, the automated balls and strikes. And if you have been to spring training or have gone to a minor league game, you know what we're talking about. It's a huge shift. It's a radical shift in the sport. I've seen spring training games with it. I was at a game when Cal Raleigh, I think he got 4 straight correct, something like that. It was ridiculous. What else is in store for baseball? What else could they do to improve the game, especially from a review stance?
Well, I think the other thing that they're looking at closely, and it's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be for next year, but the ABS system for sure, is being able to look at check swings and determine whether he actually went or not. That's almost impossible for those first base umpires to make that call. I don't think at all. I hate that when the home plate umpires think that they have it right. They should be focused solely on balls and strikes. And anytime there's a question on check swing, they got to go down the line either way. But like the definition of it, like they have potential technology that could measure whether it was a check swing or not. I think that's the other thing that they're trying to figure out, if they can get it to the point where it's accurate. So that's the thing that's, I think, closest in the pipeline, that I can think of at the moment, that maybe is close to the ABS. The ABS, there's still going to be some complaints about it, with players,
Of course.
and still getting used to the strike zone. But it is kind of fascinating. They complain about the strike zone all the time. Now you're presenting them something that can be very, very accurate, and they're still complaining about it. Like, I mean, so you just can't please them. You got to do what you think is the right thing.
Yeah. All right, Jim, great stuff. We will talk to you next week. We'll get ready for the playoffs. We'll see where the Mariners end up. And again, you can listen to Jim every single day, MLB Network Radio, host of the Power Alley. Also on Sundays, the Front Office Show with Jim Bowden, Sirius XM Channel 89. Follow him on X at Jim Duquette GM. And again, brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. Thanks, Jim. We'll talk to you next Tuesday.
Talk to you next week. See you.
There he is, Jim Duquette, MLB Network Radio, as we gear up for the end here of the baseball season, which is winding down. Starts tonight, game 1 of 3 against the Rockies for the Mariners. Then they will conclude with a 3-game series with the LA Dodgers. We'll go from baseball over to the NFL. Danny Kelly from The Ringer set to join us again. Our entire NFL coverage brought to you by Graze a Pint. I don't have a pint. I have a coffee mug. To the greatest brewery in all of the land, Georgetown Brewery.
Drink Georgetown Tavern Beer. Your new, locally brewed, domestic-style lager. 4.2% alcohol. Cheap, good, local.
Danny Kelly, I bet beer sales were out of control Sunday, first quarter of the Seahawks game, because fans, the 12s, decided, this game's over. Let's get shit-faced drunk. It's a nice day. Let's get after it.
21 zip in the first quarter. Can you remember a game less stressful than that game on Saturday or on Sunday?
No.
That was that was just the most relaxed I've ever been watching the Seahawks, I feel like, in a really long time. I'm sure there's been other games they've blown people out, but it's just kind of fun to not have to sweat through a game the entire time.
I left with 14 minutes to go from my house to take my dogs out because they needed a walk.
Yeah.
And I laughed. I'm like, the backups are in. There's 14 minutes left.
Yeah.
And I want to get ready for the Mariners game. And it just was like, no, I haven't.
It's nice.
I haven't seen a Seahawks game, nor have I seen an NFL game like that. All right, Danny Kelly is with us from The Ringer. Follow him on X at Danny B. Kelly, also on Blue Sky, senior staff writer, Ringer Fantasy Football Show, and, of course, the Ringer NFL Draft Show. He's got shows all over the place, fantasyfootball.theringer.com. You can't turn on The Ringer or The Ringer's YouTube page and not see Danny Kelly everywhere.
That's
He's
right.
the Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah. Just
starting,
they just want to get me on the screen as much as possible. They love how I look.
Do I need him on Monday Night Countdown? I don't. I just don't.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
God almighty. We just have one programming on that network that doesn't have him on it? Is that possible?
Yeah, I don't know, man. He's pretty popular. A lot of people like to argue, with him.
They do. Well, it works. Maybe that's what we should do.
It does work. That's the unfortunate thing.
Should we just send each other like 4 topics every week and just say, all right, you pick a side, even though you don't believe it, and then I'll pick the other side and we'll just argue?
Yeah, I mean, that would probably be our best chances for success, let's be honest. Manufactured outrage.
Should just do like a satire podcast one week where we just
do like the Stephen Colbert style or whatever.
Yeah,
like just or like a character.
Yeah, like Jon Stewart the other day did a whole episode of where he was censored by the government.
Yeah, I saw that.
That was really good. We do something, but the key to it, you gotta stay in character. You have to stay in character and just yell and talk over everyone. Yeah, it was the Seahawks when it was dominating, but just over from the get-go, and it just had everything. Special teams, good defense, and offense, I don't know. It's honestly, I've been thinking about what we should talk about the Seahawks. I don't really, they just look good. And New Orleans is
Well,
bad.
here's the deal. Let me ask you this. Do you think this success is real? Obviously, the Saints are not a good team. But overall, if you look at, I think the season in general, I'm feeling pretty good about the Seahawks, like where they are. Defensively, I think this is a really strong unit. And then offensively, I know that we talked about the Seahawks offense after 1 week. It was kind of depressing and things didn't really look good. But I'm starting to believe that this offense actually does have it in terms of, their ability to not ask Sam Darnold to do too much. He's been really, really accurate, really, really, really efficient. They're running the play action stuff. They're getting Torrey Horton involved, even Cooper Kupp last week, not this week, but last week had a huge game. And that was really encouraging. Torrey Horton's coming on. Kenneth Walker looks awesome. I don't know. There's a lot to feel good about right now with the offense. And again, once I'm getting sucked back into like the belief that maybe this offense is actually really good.
Well, I guess the one small thing I would nitpick at just coming out of that game was, they didn't follow up how well they ran the ball against Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
They didn't follow that up. Now, but I think that game, but I also would say that game kind of got away and punt return, they scoring quickly, and it just never allowed itself to materialize.
Right. I think that, that's kind of the thing is like after the score got out of hand early, maybe like they just tried to run the ball and they were really vanilla probably from that point on and didn't really want to do anything. Darnold, he wasn't asked to do a lot. He only, threw 18 passes in this game. So, I think that you could kind of like hand wave that a little bit, but that's definitely a variable.
Yeah, I mean that's just a small. I mean, if we're just gonna like look for something out of that game, it would be that.
Yeah,
and I think for the defense, I mean, we talked about it. I think a lot of people did. I mean, there was a lot of hype with this defense in the offseason, potentially about, but could this be one of the best defenses they ever had? And with the secondary and just the entire package. I mean, I think so far when you look at who they've played, and they did a great job against the Steelers. I thought minus the first drive against San Francisco, they looked really good.
Mm-hmm.
They completely shut down the Saints. And again, I agree with you. I think we all agree. The Saints are bad, but it is a Saints team that barely lost to San Francisco and Arizona.
They're plucky. I would put them in the plucky category because, it's not like they don't have any talent. They're just not really, they're like a year away from being actually competitive. I mean, I think the Seahawks defense, once again, it's like really exciting to me that they're able to generate so much pressure without blitzing. I think that is such a, bellwether of the health of your defense. I think is just, you can generate pressure. You don't have to blitz a ton. Right now, they're fourth in the NFL in pressure rate, almost 30%. And I think second to last in blitz rate. Let's see here. Fourth last in blitz rate. So they're not blitzing. They're getting home with their front guys. They're making life tough on opposing defenses because they never really know where the pressure is going to come from. The run defenses look pretty good. Everybody seems to be doing their job. I think there's, some question marks with like the secondary right now because of all the injuries happening.
Yeah.
But it was good to see them kind of still miss a couple guys and really shut down the Saints. And so,
the Kendrick guy has been like,
yeah,
where did he come from?
I think
he looks great.
Yeah, like Joby and Kendrick, the depth has been surprisingly good, and I think that is also a variable that you just have a really good front. You're forcing guys to get rid of the ball quickly. You're getting pressure on the quarterback, and that helps your defense. That helps your secondary make plays. I think overall, really encouraged with the defense. But like I said before, I'm more just hopeful that the offense actually is pretty legit.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sam Darnold to me so far has been, I think probably what I expected to see.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Maybe even a tad better. I think he's going to make some mistakes for sure. But
yeah, I would say he's been cleaner than I thought he would be. The story on Darnold has always been the same kind of that really talented player, really physically talented, and will make some incredible throws. But then he has these brain fart moments where you make really bad throws, you make really dumb throws. I think, through 3 games, he's one of PFF's, maybe he's even PFF's top rated quarterback right now.
He's right up there.
Yeah. So he's, that's that kind of thing. I think that those grades look at, is he making turnover worthy throws? Not really. I think he has 1 on the year so far. And, is he putting the ball where it needs to be in terms of accuracy? Is he connecting when he's supposed to? And he has one of the lowest off target rates in the NFL so far. So he's been accurate. And so the decision-making has been good. The accuracy has been good. He has a handful of plays where he kind of goes out of structure and makes something happen. So overall, I'm pretty happy, obviously. I think right now, the early returns are that the Seahawks decision to move on from Geno and go to Sam. Certainly it's not as bad as I thought it was. It's actually looking really good.
And he's not on social media. He's not tweeting all the time.
Yeah.
Cryptic messages. Yeah, it's refreshing. I'll be real honest with you.
He looks good. The decision to shift their identity completely is looking good. And you can say, like, there's a lot of teams in the NFL right now who I think are like, man, why didn't we just kind of reset and go a totally different direction on offense? And then because you got teams just like struggling once again, doing the same stuff they did last year. So I got to give credit to the Seahawks because I was kind of skeptical, or I was really skeptical. I think Kubiak has looked good, and some of the play calling has been really good. And yeah, Darnold has been really, really clean so far. And the cup move after 1 week looked bad. After the last 2 weeks, I think is looking much more solid in terms of just giving them a good number 2. And then obviously, man, having Torrey Horton kind of come out of nowhere and be legitimately really exciting. I'm legitimately really excited about him. And that's I think been a huge boost too. Getting Charbonnet back will be nice. I don't know. Things are just looking good right now for the offense.
And as we continue throughout this season, Danny, to do Ginger Watch, where we continue to watch every week about what Sam Darnold can do. For a Ginger, sneaky athletic. I mean, really, like, he's got something there. And the Gingers are not known for their athleticism.
I mean, that's not the first thing you think of, right?
No.
Yeah,
I'm not going to tell you what I think of the first.
The mental fortitude that is what I think of. It's like a boy named Sue. You go through your whole life with a bright red head of hair, and you got to be pretty tough.
Always a little off,
Yeah,
those Gingers.
But yeah, I think again, generally speaking, pretty excited. Thursday night football. This will be a good test. In Arizona, I guess the Seahawks. The Seahawks. I don't actually have the numbers in front of me, but I feel like the Seahawks have been pretty good in Arizona on that field, generally speaking.
They've been great there, I believe. And then also it's been a house of horrors with injuries.
Right.
That's why. And this is why I'm so nervous about it, because it feels like injuries, they come in these threes. Connor goes out. Bosa's out. Now I feel like there's got to be a third one.
When's the other shoe going to drop?
Who is it?
Don't even say it. Don't even think it.
I mean, think about all the injuries they've had.
No, you're right. Wasn't it like so? Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor.
Yes, Earl Thomas. Hauschka, I believe.
Oh man! And then if you go back to the Super Bowl,
it's Cliff Averill.
Lane, the corner Lane got hurt really bad. Man, you're right. That's tough.
Can we sacrifice somebody for the Rams to be the third one?
Right.
Just don't.
They've lost. I think they've already lost a couple of their offensive linemen. So
doesn't count. They need somebody bigger.
Okay.
Nakua or somebody else.
Oh, don't say that.
Why? I got him on my fantasy team too. Shoot.
I can't have you saying things like that, Puckett.
I can't lose Nakua because I've already lost CeeDee Lamb.
Oh, that was kind of
Jesus. Good Lord.
The injuries this week have
unbelievable.
Yeah. CeeDee Lamb, James Conner, that was a brutal one.
Mike Evans is out for 4 weeks.
Yeah. Sounds like Terry McLaurin now is probably going to miss some time. Jaden Daniels is already hurt. A bunch of quarterbacks are already hurt.
Yeah,
this week is the season's off the rails already.
It is off the rails. Good Lord. We got Russell Wilson's been benched.
Oh yeah, that's a big story.
Jackson Dart now is the new starting quarterback.
Firing up a dart right now.
Hey, there you go. There you go. It just felt, and I was watching that. What were they? Was it Monday night or Sunday night? No, Sunday night, right? The Giants played. God, why am I blanking on it? I can't even. I'm blanking on that freaking game now.
Let's see. Yes, it was Sunday night because last night was Lions Ravens.
That's right. And I remember, like, during the series, they bring in Dart to run, some RPO, and the crowd's just going nuts, losing their mind.
Yeah.
And then Russell comes back in, he runs the same RPO and keeps it and gets like a half a yard, like just boo, everyone's losing their minds. So kind of felt that was inevitable.
Do you view that like, so obviously there's a question in here in Seattle, Wilson's legacy. Where are you on Wilson's legacy? Because so someone was talking about, like, obviously the turning point in his career was in Arizona in that Super Bowl when he threw the pick to end the game against the Patriots. And then, he makes that throw. Maybe Tyler, or what's his name? Ricardo Lockett. God, man. Ricardo
Did you try to go French on him? Ricardo Lockett.
Ricardo Lockett. If he, maybe like turns that in a little bit closer and catches that football or whatever, the sliding doors of that moment are pretty wild to think about. Because the Seahawks would have then beaten Peyton Manning and Tom Brady in back-to-back Super Bowls. They would have been considered at least a mini dynasty. And I think, obviously,
are we
the vibes,
really gonna relive this?
The vibes would have been much better if they would have won that. Maybe the team doesn't fall apart and start blaming each other. Russell Wilson goes to the Hall of Fame as one of the most adored athletes in Seattle history. Instead, now he just gets traded, falls out with Sean Payton after 1 year there or whatever it was, and then now he's been benched back to back. Or I guess he wasn't really benched last year. They just decided not to keep him in Pittsburgh. But
I'm going to give you the number of my good dear friend Hugh Millen. He can walk you through that play and tell you who screwed up. It wasn't so much Lockett. It was Curse.
Curse, not
Curse was the problem.
I thought it does not help.
Again, like most things in life, a Husky was the problem.
I will say also very good defensive play. Like, we got to give the Patriots some credit. They practiced this exact play in practice before that week, and so they kind of knew it was coming and jumped the route. So all in all, a horrific disaster for the Seahawks.
Well, now let me go back to your original question, which is what do I think his legacy is?
Mm-hmm. Sorry for running you through that whole.
No, that's
a long-winded and emotional question. Sorry.
I think he's the greatest quarterback in franchise history.
Yeah,
and he will have his number retired, and he will be in the Ring of Honor, and whatever has happened after that, and however he treated people behind the scenes, whatever. I judge him for what he was on the field, and on the field, he's the best I've ever seen, ever. Yeah. And he was a huge instrumental part for them winning a Super Bowl and getting back to a second one. So, I mean, how it ended was unfortunate, but they've had plenty of players have ended their time here, unfortunately. I mean, I'm old enough to remember Kenny Easley. He sued the team. The team. I mean, and now he's welcome back with open arms. So
I know, and there was a time there where Richard Sherman was just talking shit about the Seahawks
all the time.
It sucks too because he went and played for the 49ers. That was especially kind of a dagger. But yeah, I mean, I think over the years, and credit to Pete Carroll for not holding grudges, because obviously they were fighting for a while, him and a couple players, but welcomed him back into the fold, and now they're back, I think in the Seattle family or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I think Richard Sherman is still one of ours in terms of Seahawks fans, and Michael Bennett and Earl Thomas. I don't know where he is these days, but and then Marshawn Lynch, all those guys, they're all still part of that.
I'm just looking. Sorry, I'm a little distracted. I'm going through the media guide to find the record for the Seahawks at State Farm. They're 11-7-1. There.
Okay, so that's pretty good, I guess.
Yeah, they've been really, really good there. So, and they won 7 in a row there on the road.
Yeah,
they've just been a great road team under Mike McDonald. So, and with Connor out. That's what this last weekend was so good for them, right, Danny? Because you have a comfortable win. You're resting your starters for a whole quarter.
Right.
And it's clear to me that they kept Witherspoon, Love out of the game.
Right.
That if they had to play, they probably could have played, it seems like to me, and just reading kind of between the lines.
They felt good about going into that game.
Yeah. And now they rested up, and, they get an Arizona team that is probably emotionally, beat up right now because of the loss of Connor. This is a perfect time to play him.
Connor's a big leader for that team. Yeah. Obviously, that was pretty devastating to see that. Also, vibes are just not great for the Cardinals right now. Marvin Harrison, I think, is under a lot of pressure and under a lot of critique.
Is there something going on with his dad and him?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't seen that.
Okay.
I just saw the drops this last week that, I think and people have him really under the crosshairs. Obviously, he was a very, very high pick and a very highly thought of prospect, and he hasn't lived up to that. And it almost feels like he's going a little bit backwards this year, which is frustrating and unfortunate. But they seem like they're going through it. And then, of course, like Kyler is not necessarily the calm in the storm. He's not that type of leader. So they're going through it. Hopefully the Seahawks can capitalize on that. Yeah. But they're kind of, I do agree that feels like a big advantage that they were kind of able to like coast this week and come out of there pretty healthy and be ready for this Thursday night game.
We're just looking ahead to the games coming up this week. Again, as we mentioned before, the Seahawks will kick off the next week of games here on Thursday, in which they now are a favorite in the game by 1.5. Also looking at some of the games, boy, a juicy one on Sunday night. I mean, we had a stinker on Sunday night, but we get the Packers Cowboys. It's Jerry Jones and everything going on with the offseason drama with that scenario. That's just going to be a great game.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's going to be super fun. I unfortunately probably am not going to be able to. Well, I'm not going to get to watch this game closely. I'm going to Ireland. I'm going to go to this Vikings-Steelers game in Dublin on Sunday. So that's
the Ringer sending. Are you guys doing a show, like a live Ringer show from Ireland?
We're not doing like a live audience show, but we're recording our pods from Dublin.
Wow.
Going to do one of them. I think we're going to record one in like an Irish pub there.
Oh, sure you are.
In Dublin. And then going to the Guinness factory, which is going to be fun, or the Guinness warehouse or whatever you call it. And then, going to the game. It's at Croke Park in Dublin. Oh. And then we're going to find somewhere to watch the rest of the games, but we got to be recording our pod. And it's going to be the late Sunday slate, the afternoon slate ends at like 1 a.m.
Oh, perfect.
So we're going to like sort of have the game on in the background, record our show.
A boondoggle.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
You and your guys have orchestrated over
Bill
Simmons' head.
Professional, sir. We are going to be doing an excellent job.
Oh, you're like, hey, Bill, we think it'd be a great idea to send the show on the road, get the ambiance of Ireland, the Steelers and the Vikings. Meanwhile, the three of you are sitting back there going, yeah, we want to get shit-faced on Guinness and whiskey. And that's what we're going to do.
It's like gonzo journalism. You got to get, it's like Hunter S. Thompson. You get in there and you take part in the real life of what these fans are going through on a, Sunday.
So how can we follow along on this venture?
I think the best way is to follow us on Instagram, the Ringer Fantasy Football Show on Instagram, and TikTok if you have TikTok. Are you on TikTok, Puckett?
Oh, I am. I love TikTok. My daughter and I usually do a lot of dances and a lot of singing and stuff like that. So
I can see popular. That. But yeah, we're gonna obviously be sharing all of this boondoggle with our fans. So that'll be a lot of fun. It's gonna be an absolute whirlwind. We're flying in Thursday and leaving Monday, so we're gonna be so like.
What's the flight? What's the flight time on that?
9 hours. I got a direct flight from Seattle. And you go like over the North Pole, basically. I think you're flying over like Iceland and Greenland or whatever.
Perfect.
Going that way, so it's straight there. Aer Lingus, which is great. Gonna just try and sleep on the plane as much as I can. But yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Man, that's gonna be, and it's perfect that they're playing there in Dublin, and it's the Vikings.
the Vikings versus the Steelers. It's gonna.
Yeah, it's just
we were a little
perfect.
bummed about JJ McCarthy getting injured, but at the same time, maybe Carson Wentz actually runs the offense. It's going to be maybe like a better
Well,
product with Carson
And,
Wentz.
and probably part of the plan was for McCarthy to get injured because you got a ginger in
Right.
in Ireland.
Carson Wentz,
My
yeah.
God, they're going to know
Yeah, they're
nothing
gonna be
about
all over
Carson
that.
Wentz and be like, he's one of ours. That's not an Irish.
That was
accent.
sounded Australian, but
It
yeah,
sounded Australian. It was terrible.
there might be some Aussies, in town for. There's apparently there's a lot of buzz about this. There's a lot of people.
Well, a
flying
lot
in.
of people. You know the thing about Ireland, a lot of people are moving there.
Oh, are they?
It's been a big, well, yeah. Maybe you won't come back. You never know.
Yeah. Well, I think Bill Simmons actually said that on one of his pods. He was like, "What's the over under on guys that come back from Ireland?" It's like 2.5.
Yeah, you and Rosie O'Donnell.
Did Rosie O'Donnell move to Ireland? I haven't caught up with Rosie.
You're not on your Rosie. You're not on your Rosie. Information. I got
No, I'm not.
give me some early fantasy surprises. Who has surprised you before we wrap up here?
Oh,
and if
Quentin
we haven't
Johnston.
picked up anyone, who do we need to pick up?
Okay, well, first of all, the surprise, I guess, is one of the bigger surprises is Quentin Johnston for the Chargers. He's been electric. He's been awesome, and he's a guy that I think most people had given up on after a really, really tough start to his career. He looks really good. The Chargers offense in general has just really been a bigger fantasy value than people are expecting. Because when you think about the Chargers, I think a lot of people were like, oh, they're going to run the ball 50% of the time, Greg Roman, whatever. But they've been actually one of the higher pass rate teams in the NFL. So Quentin Johnston, Keenan Allen, Lad McConkey, all those guys are looking really good in fantasy right now. For this week, in terms of guys to add, if you're still looking on the waiver wire, Trey Benson's the big one. Obviously, with James Conner going down to a season-ending ankle injury, Trey Benson is now the starter there. He's a super explosive guy that is going to factor into the passing game, kind of like in a similar mold, I guess, to Conner. They're not stylistically the same, but should get a lot of volume in that offense.
Right.
So he's kind of the big one. And then Trey Tucker for the Raiders, kind of looking good over there with Geno, has a good connection. So he's a receiver that you could keep in mind.
All right. Danny, you're the best. You can follow along Danny's adventures, I should say, with the Ringer Fantasy Football Show on TikTok and Instagram. Is it just Ringer NFL Draft Show?
Ringer Fantasy.
Ringer Fantasy. I'm sorry.
Here. Let me just double check. I think
it's got so many things and so many different content creators are all over the place. I keep up with you. You don't even know.
It doesn't matter. What Ringer Fantasy Football, I think it is on Instagram. By the way, I'm going to be insanely jet lagged for our meeting next week. Hopefully I show up.
Okay.
But just fair warning, I'm going to be getting home very late Monday night, and so we'll see.
Okay.
See about Tuesday.
You take it. You let me know what you want to do. I hope you come back just thick Irish accent.
Yeah.
With a new, you've bought a house over there.
Well, I do have family apparently in Ireland. I don't know them.
Well, your last name's Kelly. My God, man. I bet it better be.
Yeah, the family. I'm gonna maybe go try and look them up, see if they're around. Apparently, County
just
Cork.
Walk into a pub. Are there any Kellys here?
Are there any Danny Kellys in the house? There'll be like 4.
I mean, you're gonna have 50. That actually, now that I think about it, we've stumbled upon a bit here.
Yeah. How many?
That
Danny
should be
Kellys
a bit. You should film it, you guys.
That's actually funny. I like
to
that.
walk into a pub, and how many times when you walk into a pub, you just say, "Are there any Danny Kellys here?"
The problem with that is apparently in Ireland, people hate it when Americans come in and say you're Irish or whatever, because they're like, they're like, we don't care. Like, that's great that your family is from here, but like 5 generations ago or whatever.
Just sit down to an old person next to an Irish bar and just turn and go, like, and have the crew you're filming go, so tell me, what was the potato famine like?
God. Yeah. I think I'm going to try and be representative of the good.
Yeah,
American.
don't be an ugly American.
I'm going to be the good American.
Yeah, good.
Try to be anyway.
But I do think you should do a bit on.
I do like
Danny
that.
Kellys
I want to
you
try
can
and find Danny Kellys.
I bet there's
really
a
like
few.
that. It's going to be a handful.
Yeah.
So many Dannys in Ireland. My God.
Yeah, there's got to be. Well, enjoy yourself. Looking forward to watching it and following along. Ringer Fantasy Football Show, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you can find Danny and his crew on YouTube there as well. And, of course, you can follow Danny on X and Blue Sky, Danny B. Kelly. And, again, fantasyfootball.theringer.com. Thank you, Danny. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
All right, there he is, Danny Kelly from The Ringer, senior staff writer. We talk all things NFL every single week with Danny, brought to you by Georgetown Brewery. We go from the NFL now to college football, the same sport, right? And joining us as he does every single Tuesday, it is our good friend John Canzano from johncanzano.com. You can follow him on X and Blue Sky at John Canzano BFT. He also has a radio show. He talks into a microphone also for a living. He writes, he covers, he does it all at johncanzano.com. And he is brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. Great locations across the state: Kirkland, Pioneer Square, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. Well,
yeah.
How was rivalry weekend? Is that what you expected to see?
Yeah. I had predicted 49-7 for the Civil War. Ended up 41-7. I thought Dan Lanning showed a lot of compassion and restraint in that one. Jed Fish looked like he ran it up a little bit on the Cougs. Obviously some bad feelings from the game in 23 or 20, was that 24? So, what year is it?
Where are we?
It's about what I expected. I mean, there's a gap that is forming anyway between, even within the Power Four, Puck, within the Power Four, the SEC and the Big Ten are creating a gap between themselves and the ACC and the Big 12. Sure. And then within the SEC and the Big Ten, there's gaps forming everywhere. And so there's a chasm right now between the top teams in the Big Ten and teams that are in the Pac-12. That there is a chasm there that people keep comparing it to the Group of Five or the Mountain. It's a new Mountain West. I don't even think you can make that comparison because the money is so distorted right now in a way that it has never been distorted.
Okay, so let's go back to the games this past weekend. I did not see a second of the Civil War.
Yeah.
I did look down at my phone at one point, saw the halftime score is 21-7.
Yeah.
Now that would indicate to me, well, it's not that much of a blowout.
Yeah,
was that more of Oregon just were they playing conservatively, or was it for a half at least a contest between the two?
The score at the end of the first quarter was 7-7. And I joked, I said, Oregon State led 7-7 at the end of the first quarter. Like, it was a major victory for the Beavers to be in that game. And they were running the football a little bit. They had a good plan. Oregon did look a little sluggish. I think some of it was Oregon has been a slow starter. They started slow against Northwestern. I think that it's just natural when you are, as talented as the players are at Oregon, they look over at Northwestern and Oregon State and they go, yeah, we can go like 80% here and win this game. So I think at the end of the first quarter, Oregon State was feeling pretty good about itself, but Oregon just had too many playmakers, Puck. And there was a 80-yard drive right before the end of the half where Oregon kind of drove it down and got 7 to make it 21-7. And I thought, gosh, that's a backbreaker going into you go in 14-7, which they had a real chance to do. And they would have been okay, but Oregon just has too many playmakers. And so for one quarter, the Beavers ran the ball a little bit, looked like they had a game plan, but they couldn't, with any kind of consistency, stay on the field for a larger sample size. I think they played about as good as they could have and lost by 34.
Now, for the Apple Cup, this was a game that was, again, more competitive, although the final score wouldn't say that at the end, more competitive in the Civil War. I mean, for 3 quarters, you go into the fourth quarter and it's a 7-point game. Yeah. Now things unraveled quickly for Washington State in that game, 28-0. You'd mentioned earlier what Jed Fish did, and I know it's angered a lot of Cougar fans. In fact, and I've actually heard from some Husky fans too, people that cover the team, that analyze the team, who were not happy with what Jed Fish did. Me as a fan, I don't really care. I knew this is what he was going to do because he told everyone that carries the water over there at Washington, this is what he was going to do. It didn't happen as soon as he thought it was going to happen. So he had to wait until the fourth quarter to do it. Here's what I would say about Jed Fish, why I think he's actually not that really great of a coach, to be honest with you, and why he made a mistake. He had his Heisman Trophy winning quarterback in the game under 3 minutes to play. And it's not that he threw a pass. It's the opportunity that kid would have taken a hit or scrambled out and suffers an injury. And by the way, if you watch that game, even though he was phenomenal, he was the best player on the field, there were 3 shots that he took to the head in that game. 3 different shots, hard hits that could have knocked him out.
Yeah.
And you as a head coach, because you were so fixated on running up the score on them, you jeopardize your really best player by opening him up to an injury. That's, I'll be honest, that's just coaching malpractice. It's stupidity.
And you expect that from a young coach, right? I saw Dan Lanning do some of that last year and the year before at Oregon, where he just didn't seem to know, maybe there's no awareness, or maybe, he's concerned. He's a younger coach and he's concerned about the optics of margin of victory and all that. And of course, people pay attention to that. Oregon's already been penalized this season for taking guys out of games. The AP voters dropped him after they took everyone out in the fourth quarter against Northwestern and gave up 14 points. And so I think younger coaches who don't understand like the journey of it make that mistake. I'm surprised to see it from somebody like Jedd Fisch, who's been in this game, who understands that, this could be, a 14 or 15 week season for the teams that play deep into the playoffs. But I don't think he's thinking of it that way, Puck. I think the way he acted in that fourth quarter tells you that Jedd Fisch knows they're not going to the playoff. This is about sending a message over to your rival, and that there were some really bad feelings that he stewed on for a year. Because I watched Dan Lanning at Oregon, wholesale substitutions in the early part of the fourth quarter, got guys out. He's got a bigger game against Penn State coming up. Washington's got Ohio State. And if you don't have DeMond Williams Jr. for the rest of your season, I don't know how many wins you get, because that guy is your path to like a really nice 8-win, 9-win, 10-win season.
That's what I just would get inside his head right there. To me, again, I am one of these guys. I am a firm believer in this, and some will say, hey, you have to show a sign of sportsmanship, and I am all about sportsmanship and all that. But also, I just don't think it's one team's responsibility not to score in the other team. But I get the other side of it and all that.
Agree.
I also loved, and I mean loved, and maybe it's bad sportsmanship, I get it. I loved when Jaden Delore planted the flag on them. I loved it. 99.9% of the alums at Washington State loved it. If you loved it, you cannot bitch and moan about him throwing late on you. You cannot do it.
I don't mind the throwing late.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And to me, it's not about him throwing late. I don't care what he does. It's having him in the game.
Yeah.
Is where if I were a Husky fan, I'd be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
We have a game next week against number 1 Ohio State. Why is he still in there?
Yeah. And Dan Lanning did it right. I mean, he got Dante Moore out of the game, got his guys out of the game. He did it a week earlier against Northwestern. And if you look back to last year, Ohio State played slow last year. And Chip Kelly talked about this around the Rose Bowl game. They tried to limit how many snaps they put on their guys, because they were planning for a 14 or 15 game schedule. And they said, forget playing fast. We need to have fewer snaps. And Will Stein, the Oregon offensive coordinator, talked to me, in week 2, Oregon's playing Montana State and Oklahoma State, and they're blowing these teams out. But they were limiting their snaps, particularly for their quarterback, because they know there's a wear and tear and there's the risk of injury, and you need guys. And it is a journey. And this is a different time because of the college football playoff. It is a different field of the season. Ohio State lost 2 games in the regular season last year and won it all. It's all anybody remembers, is that they won it all. But people were calling for Ryan Day's head, but he was subbing guys in. He was managing the season. They did a nice job with that. I think the teams that are playing for bigger stakes are thinking in those terms, Puck. But what Jedd Fisch did in the fourth quarter there, with DeMond Williams Jr. being on the field, tells you he cared more about that Apple Cup than he did the rest of the season.
What odds do you give him this week against Ohio State?
I give him no shot against Ohio State. I think Ohio State's going to be too physical. There's a level of physicality when you get to the top teams in the Big Ten. Again, we'll talk about those tiers. It was Michigan in the college football playoff championship game 2 years ago. They put Washington on roller skates and wheeled them around the stadium, and that was a really good Washington team. Oregon got manhandled in 2015 against Ohio State. Jed Fish has talked about wanting to be bigger, more physical. Here's the true test. It's not the test in the Apple Cup. It's not even the test against, a Minnesota or an Illinois or an Indiana. This is the test. It's Ohio State's physicality. To win a national championship, you have to be physical. You have to be able to run the ball. I think Washington's going to get an idea of where they are. I don't think they cover in this game. I think Ohio State beats them pretty good.
And it's an interesting, I guess, parallel to, and I'm going to ask you about this, the comments that Jimmy Rogers said post-game of the Apple Cup, which is now he's walked back to where Washington, I think, looks at Ohio State, because there clearly is a in this new world of college football, and you're going to probably see it on Saturday. This talent and financial gap between the Ohio States of the world and Washington, even though Washington is spending a ton of money, right?
Right.
But then the trickle-down effect is what we saw is this financial disparity between Washington and then Washington State, which Jimmy Rogers then walked back that comment, says, I shouldn't have made that comment afterwards. But this is the reality of where college football is at right now. And I think probably in a moment of frustration, Jimmy Rogers let that out.
Well, and I don't blame him for talking about it. I think you have to talk about it. But there's a bigger gap right now between the haves and the have-nots than ever. And some of it is sanctioned with, revenue sharing. Who can afford to spend $20.5 million? Okay, there's a group of schools that are on board with that. And then there comes the NIL piece. And the fact of the matter is there are 5 or 6 schools nationally that just have deeper pockets and a war chest. And Oregon's got Phil Knight. That's the ultimate difference maker. I don't begrudge Oregon for that. Like, that's the game.
Sure.
They're playing the game. But I think one day, we're going to look back at this. It's not unlike Major League Baseball, where you have no salary cap and you have teams spending $300 million and teams spending $70 million. Well, who do we expect makes the playoffs, right? You might get a team in the middle of the payroll that punches above their weight. Look at the Mariners and what they've done. But by and large, you're not going to see with any kind of regularity those teams that are in the bottom tier rise up and outplay the teams at the top. That your margin is just it's not there. And so even if you're playing Moneyball, you're at such a disadvantage. And that tiering is happening within the conferences. Like, you've got people at Purdue and Indiana and other schools that are going, hey, we're just doing everything we can possibly do to play these top teams. But I think in the end, we're going to see money. You can just rank the teams by money. And it was no accident last year that you look in the semifinals, Notre Dame's a private school, so you don't have the money, but you had school number 1, school number 2, and school number 5 playing, in the semifinals of the CFP as far as athletic department spending. I think we can do that now in this era. We can just go, okay, who's spending? Okay, these teams are all going to make the semifinals.
You are going to be on campus, Penn State, Oregon. Just going to be an incredible game coming up. There's some great games this weekend, by the way.
Yeah.
We've touched on Washington, Ohio State. Number 6, Oregon at number 3, Penn State. You've got number 4, LSU is on the road at number 13, Ole Miss. Alabama's at Georgia. Arizona's undefeated, kind of quietly, and they're at number 14, Iowa State. USC, fresh off their victory last week against Jonathan Smith and Michigan State that kicked off at 8 p.m. And then they're rewarded with the 9 a.m. kickoff this weekend against Illinois, who is ranked 23rd in the country. But let's talk about the game you're going to be at, Penn State and Oregon. What for Oregon and the players who have not experienced that? And I believe you've covered a game there, correct?
Yeah, I've been there.
What's awaiting them? Because Big Ten coaches, they did a video in the beginning of the year, and they asked all the Big Ten coaches, what's the toughest place to play in the conference? And I think it was unanimous, Penn State.
Yeah.
What's in store for them?
Well, it's a hard place to get to, first of all. All right. So you're talking about a long trip for an Oregon team that is traveling eastward across time zones. And I do look at that as a factor. And those teams tend to not perform and not play as well against the spread and straight up. So that's the travel itself is an interesting dynamic. But then you get into sort of 106,000 people. I've not been there for a whiteout game. I have not seen that atmosphere, and the show that goes on when you're going in there. But beyond that, Penn State's pretty good. That's why it's a tough place to play. Like, they have good players. James Franklin, when he is favored in games, wins those games. he has trouble when the talent level's about equal, or maybe he's at a little bit of a disadvantage. He's not really out coaching anyone. And I think it's an interesting matchup from that perspective, because that's kind of the knock on Dan Lanning, or at least it was until last season when he beat Ohio State at Autzen Stadium and then beat James Franklin in a head-to-head game. But I was at that Big Ten championship game last year. Penn State thought it was the better team. Penn State had 2 passing turnovers. I don't know why. Penn State threw the ball 39 times in that game because they ran all over Oregon. They had 300 rushing yards. They were handing the ball off, doing just fine. They threw 2 interceptions when they put the ball in the air. I think if they don't throw the ball puck, Penn State probably wins the game. Franklin was in the post-game news conference. The Oregon marching band was playing like the school fight song. He was like, this is a JV setup. You know, it was a big kind of scene afterwards. He was frustrated. I saw his face when he looked at the stat sheet, and he was like, we outgained them. We outrushed them.
Mm-hmm.
They out first downed them. How did they lose the game? Well, you know, put a mirror up. Like, it was 39 passes. So I think there's a tremendous amount of pressure here on James Franklin in this game. Oregon's kind of going into this going, I don't think they're saying they can afford to lose, but I think they're going into it going, hey, look at Ohio State last year. It's not the end of the world if Oregon goes in there and loses that game. But Dan Lanning and the Ducks, they want to go in and win. But, man, I think all the pressure in the world is on James Franklin here.
It just I'm looking forward to the game. It just looks like one of the best environments in all of sports, especially when they do the whiteout, 106,000 people there. And it truly is a college town. I mean, that's it. That's all there is there out in the middle of nowhere. So great test there for the Ducks taking on Penn State. All right, you have it just came out hot off. I mean, just like hot off the presses.
Right.
At johncanzano.com. Pac-12 plotting for the 2026 football season. What are the details? What do you know? What can you share with us?
Well, I'll tell you this, like, it's been a busy morning in our household with the 2 daughters, the younger daughters getting off to one to elementary school, one to middle school, but in and around it. And you know how that is. Anybody who's, you know,
are you up yet? You
gotta brush your teeth. Gotta brush your teeth. Get to the breakfast table. And then the big one for us is like the debate over, is it okay to just let them be late and have the consequence of them being late to school? Is it a consequence when they have to walk in and everybody looks at them and you're walking in late? I'm like hustling, doing everything I can to get this kid out the door. And my wife's going, you know, just let them be late. Just, it's okay. Let them suffer the consequence. And I'm like, is that a consequence at their age? I don't know. But is it embarrassing? But in and around that, I'm, you know, working the phones and you know, all the conference commissioners are meeting in Chicago in the next few days. All 32 conference commissioners are going to be there. Small conferences, large conferences. Teresa Gold on her way there, the Pac-12 commissioner. The Pac-12 unlikely, Puck, this is the big news, unlikely to add a football-only member in time for 2026. Okay. So this is going to be a conference of 8 members as it pertains to the 2026 football season. 8 football members plus Gonzaga. So there's 7 conference games in there, which means they need 5 non-conference games. Everybody needs 5. So the ADs in the conference are kind of scrambling around going, hey, how do we pick up those games? Now, Ann McCoy, the AD at Washington State, she only needs to pick up 1 game. You know, so she's in a little different predicament. She's already got 4 on the books. I think Oregon State has 4 as well. You know, on the book. So everybody's looking for an additional conference game, the non-conference game that they didn't maybe plan on having. That leads us to the idea of a scheduling arrangement. Now, I talked to multiple ADs in the conference and other league sources who told me they're not calling it an alliance. They're not calling it a partnership. You know, the Mountain West thing has got everybody, you know, scarred. But they're looking for a conference that is willing to sort of open up their early part of the season schedule and create 8 windows that maybe you could do a crossover 4 and 4 from the Sun Belt Conference or the American Conference or the Mid-American or Conference USA. I am being told the Mountain West off the table. Like, no.
Well, I would think so.
Forget the Mountain West. But so I talked to a number of people, including one former FBS commissioner who told me that the likely dance partner here for the Pac-12 is probably to cherry pick some games in the Sun Belt and Conference USA, not really call it a conference partnership or arrangement, and just sort of informally say, hey, can you move open some dates? Leave the last, that fourth week in September open, and let's have some crossover games here that would appeal to our TV partners. There are some members in the Sun Belt and Conference USA that play in the Central Time Zone. I'd keep an eye on those schools because there's favorable geography there that could work, particularly with somebody like Texas State, who has, is coming to the Pac-12 from the Sun Belt Conference. So you might see, a handful of schools in the Sun Belt, handful of schools in Conference USA play. I originally thought, gosh, the American would be the best conference because they've got Memphis, they've got Tulane. I love to see some crossover South Florida. But, Tim Pernetti, the conference commissioner in the American, and Teresa Gold, the commissioner of the Pac-12, I'm told they've had some informal conversations in the past, but nothing formal going on right now between the American and the Pac-12. There still may be some bad feelings about the Pac-12 trying to raid them. And so, we all saw the news. The ACC, they're moving to 9 games. The SEC is moving to 9 games. That means there are fewer non-conference games. So I think there's some of these group of 5 conferences, Puck, that are going to be looking for games. And I think I would just keep an eye on the Pac-12, in 2026, going into maybe the Sun Belt or the Mid-American Conference or Conference USA and picking up some games.
If I'm Ann McCoy, I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to call the Cal AD, and I don't know what Stanford's schedule is, and tell them, hey, why don't you just buy out the Wagner Seahawks next year on September 19th, and we'll come down there and play you.
You still may see that. That's what I'd like to see. But I also think, keep in mind the Pac-12 has got a piece of its, TV deal still out there, right, in the market. And they have guaranteed a minimum number of games. And so I kind of think at least 4 of those teams have to play home games. Okay. It's kind of just back of the napkin math there. But if you're the Pac-12, you're looking for some home games there to kind of beef up your TV deal. Sure. You're willing to give some away games, but who's going to play those away games? And then as a total fallback option, which I don't like, I hate this. It's hokey. The home and home this year with Washington State and Oregon State, I can get into it. But I don't like a home and home long term. And some others have said, oh, it would be great. It would be unlike anything else out there. But if, who wants to play Boise State in a home and home every season, And so I'm kind of wondering what happens with some of that, but that is a fallback. If you can't get a 5th non-conference game, maybe they go to a home and home. But right now, I think the focus is on playing 7 conference games in football in 2026, 5 non-conference games, and keep an eye on Conference USA and the Sun Belt and the MAC, maybe the American as potential partners.
JohnCanzano.com there with the story. It's up there right now. Go subscribe, please. If you love just great reporting, great writing, JohnCanzano.com. I got like 3 or 4 other things, and I know you got to go. I
know. I'm here for you,
Justin Wilcox, how does he survive this? I mean, I've been wondering for the last decade with him how he remains the head coach there. Is it just that Cal doesn't care?
It's not that. I think Cal knows that it's put its football program in an uncomfortable position, that it is a tough place to win. And really, when you look at the success stories there, they are, aberrations. There's an Aaron Rodgers at quarterback for you, Jeff Tedford as a coach. And so I think Wilcox has become a steady, stable, presence. And then the start to this season kind of fooled everybody. They started off just so hot and they look good. And they still might be passable. But I got to give credit to Sean Lewis and San Diego State. I talked to Sean Lewis 3 days before that game, and he had a bye. And I thought, how is he going to stop the Cal freshman quarterback? Well, Sean Lewis found a way in that bye week to make that guy really uncomfortable. He looked like a true freshman for the first time this season.
All right, UCLA. Who would want that job?
It's not going to be an established Power 4 coach, but
assistant.
Yeah, it's going to have to be somebody who's trying to move on their way up. And immediately I went to Jonathan Smith at Michigan State, but I'm not sold that he would leave Michigan State for UCLA. I think USC is the job he ultimately would jump for. But he might listen. His agent might listen to help get him some security. Will Stein, the coordinator at Oregon, offensive coordinator, is going to be offered jobs. UCLA probably should try to talk to him. I'll tell you who crossed my mind, but I think it would be just far too much for UCLA to palate. It would be John Gruden. I think if you really want to go outside the box and do the most un-UCLA thing ever, you hire Gruden. But the problem is, like, we just talked about Cal. UCLA has the same problem. And I find it interesting that sort of the culture of the UC system infects both of these campuses.
Sure.
Cal doesn't quite know who it is as a football program, and that holds Cal football back. They're figuring it out with Ron Rivera as the football GM. UCLA's got the same problem. Who are you? Do you want to win? Do you want to invest? I hear all this talk about how UCLA did this and did that, but the AD at UCLA put Deshaun Foster in an impossible situation. He's the good guy hire. He's the stopgap. He's the former player who everybody loves. And then they kicked off football games and he got his ass kicked. I mean, it was like he didn't know how to coach. He didn't know how to be a CEO. And so, like, it was just the worst possible storm of conditions. A program that doesn't know who it is, a school that doesn't know how to win, not in football at least, and an AD that was just trying to put a warm body in that seat. So I have zero confidence that UCLA will figure this out. But Kenny Dillingham to Arizona State is what UCLA needs. Is there bring a local guy back who's got great energy, who can galvanize that fan base. There's some money there that is untapped. You've got some donors like the Wasserman family and Troy Aikman and others who are really focused on trying to make UCLA matter. But I'm going to go back to this. You blew up the Pac-12 for this. Like, I think we're going to look back 10, 15 years from now, Puck, and we're going to go, who did it work out for? Oregon and nobody else? Like, I don't see Washington competing at the top of the Big Ten. UCLA is embarrassing itself. I'm watching Utah and some other schools go off. Utah got its butt kicked against Texas Tech. Couldn't believe that. Like, Stanford and Cal in the ACC, it's not working for any of these schools. It's ridiculous.
Well, they're going to find it out. Just give it time. They will all come down to reality for all of them. Okay, last thing for you. I should have brought this up when you brought up Oregon State. They've got the guy there. How can they not tap into that billionaire and just say, buy a football team?
Yeah.
Got to get him. What's his name again? He's
Jensen Huang.
And he's the CEO of, is it NVIDIA?
NVIDIA, yeah. And his wife, he met his wife at Oregon State. They're both grads. They have recently made a huge, I think it was $500 million donation to the AI center on campus. They're building this whole artificial intelligence engineering program around
build a football team.
NVIDIA. Like, and I talked, I was in the president's box last season for a game. I went and sat with Jyoti Murthy, the president at Oregon State, and her husband. By the way, her husband is an aerospace engineer. She's an engineer. I tried to pretend like I could talk to them. I sat and talked to them. Like, you ever feel dumb? I was so dumb in that conversation. I was just trying not to say something like they would tell their friends about later. Like,
hey, John.
Yeah. Her husband was telling me he could take all of my writing and all my radio show and he could put it into an AI program. And he said I could put the box score in and it would spit back a column that had your voice. And I said, no, that's never going to. And he said, oh, no. I think, we could do this. But
they do it for, hey, John, could they do that for a podcast? Or?
They probably could. They could probably make you, you can just go play golf. Look, but here's the thing. I said to Jyoti Murthy, I said, can you get Jensen to a game? Can you get him to love football? And she said, that's what I'm trying to do. Because if you can get that guy to buy in on football, and if he gets mad enough about what is happening, you can maybe not, you're not going to ever maybe approach, getting yourself back into a Big Ten or SEC situation, but you could make yourself a pretty attractive school 5 years from now when football splits off with 48 schools going off into major college football. If you got that kind of benefactor, you got a puncher's chance.
Absolutely. I mean, he could spend more money than anyone in the sport if he wanted to.
Yeah. Part of the
Even
problem,
it doesn't matter what conference
but
they
can
would
you
be
imagine
in.
how many people are pulling at a guy like that,
Sure.
trying to get a piece,
Yeah.
trying to get, I've had lunch a couple times with Tim Boyle, the CEO of Columbia Sportswear.
Yeah.
And, he's a billionaire, and I'm in there with him and I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, how many times a day does this guy get asked to buy Girl Scout cookies? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how many people come to you and say, hey, I'd love to do an event. Can you have $25,000 or $50,000 or buy into this? I think it just becomes they probably get pretty good at saying no and deflecting.
Yeah, it's you're right. You just need what Oregon State needs is what Oregon had 20, 30 years ago, where Phil Knight just was upset, embarrassed, and goes, okay. He wasn't a football fan. I mean, we've detailed that, and he's like, all right, I'll spend, and then now look at them now. So
you got to get him to a game. And let him see it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, John. Again, read all of his work, johncanzano.com. Weekly visits with us on Tuesdays talking college football. See you next week.
Thanks, man.
There he is, John Canzano. Again, johncanzano.com. Bald-Faced Truth radio program down there in Portland, Oregon. Follow him on social media, John Canzano, BFT. His weekly appearances talking college football, all brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. We've gone late. God, there's a lot to cover there with John. So many different storylines there in college football. Let's conclude Tuesday's show with Hey, What the Puck? Brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. Your restoration company lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when your damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. If you've got a son or daughter who's baseball crazed, and it's a night game, so it doesn't matter. Tickets are like $10. Let Puck give you some parental advice. Take them to the game on Wednesday. It's likely that they are going to clinch an AL West crown, first time in 24 years. Take your kids there. Snap up some tickets. Let them witness it in person. And of all the bad stuff that has surrounded this organization, you could sit back and just smile with your son or your daughter that, yes, you get to see a team win an American League crown, a division crown, because they are few and far between. And if you're in our age bracket, in your 40s, you've just sat there and you've watched a lot of bad baseball. But that comes to an end, most likely, probably on Wednesday, wrapping up there with the Rockies. So take them on out there, enjoy it, celebrate. They don't come around too often, winning a division and snapping just a stranglehold that the Astros had on that division. All right, that's Hey, What the Puck, brought to you by Restoration One in North Seattle. Your restoration company lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call. Damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them at restoration1.com. Search the North Seattle franchise. Thank you for watching and listening to today's show. Thank you to all the sponsors. Limback Lumber, Flat Stick Pub, Georgetown Brewery. Check out their new tavern beer, by the way. And, of course, Restoration One. You can find today's Daily Puck Drop on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel. Also find the Daily Puck Drop on your favorite podcast platforms. And everything, video, audio, all up at pucksports.com. When you're there, you can sign up to become a member of the Pucks Posse, which gives you bonus shows, in addition to supporting just the daily content that we put out at Puck Sports and the Daily Puck Drop. Bonus shows like our MLB Insider show with Ryan Divish coming out tomorrow, KJ Arntz with Mitch Levy. Also, you want an early sneak peek of our interview with Joel Damon. That's for Pucks Posse members. That is out right now. We sat down with Joel Damon talking everything from Mariners baseball, the Apple Cup, Seahawks, his fandom. He also puts a timeline on how much longer he wants to play golf. the idea of Jim Moore caddying for him. And we get a Ryder Cup preview because the Ryder Cup is starting later this week at Bethpage Black. Again, Joel Damon interview up at the Pucks Posse page. Just go to pucksports.com, click on the top banner. It will take you there. All right, that's it for us on a Tuesday. Wednesday's show. We'll have Ryan Divish, our MLB insider. Jim Moore will be back. Also on Wednesdays, who am I forgetting? Oh, Rob Staten. Inside the Bloody Trenches with Rob Staten talking Seahawks football. We will talk to you on Wednesday's show. As always, we promise to be better.
No shoes, no ties.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah. I was born to love. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you, but you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for? We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!